Alright, so Riot Games, creator of League of Legends, and we know that, but do we know the who, what, when, why of Riot Games? Considering I just had to do this research paper and I have a bunch of information on Riot Games, let me appropriate that information for you in Riot Games Explained. Love them, hate them, it doesn't matter. You're about to learn about them right now. 1, 2, 3, go! Alright then, so Riot Games is founded by two really awesome dudes, Mark Trandamir Merrill and Brandon Rise Beck. Now these two dudes, not only were they gamers, but they were financiers, they were investment bankers, and they were consultants, baby! Which meant one of them worked for Merrill Lynch and one of them worked for Bain & Company. You know Mitt Romney? That company! You know, yeah! Now these two dudes, they formed Riot Games as a limited liability company, which meant limited liability! And what limited liability meant was that Riot was its own legal entity, and it could get sued by itself, and it could sue other people by itself, and it could do a whole lot of other things by itself. And by limited liability, what that meant was that Mark and Brandon's personal assets would be secured from Riot's own debt. Them here, Riot there, yeah! Alright, so Mark and Brandon, the two dudes who started Riot Games, they were smart, they were educated, they knew money really well. Come on, they were consultants and they were investment bankers. They knew how to make money and they knew how to invest. However, they couldn't do it on their own. So what they did is they got a team of super friends together to create the board of Riot Games, you know, the board. What they got a dude named Mitch Lasky, who was a former executive vice president at Electronic Arts, and the better part was that he was a partner at Benchmark Capital, and they also got a dude named, Rick Heitzman, and Rick Heitzman was a partner at Firstmark Capital. Now, these two capitals, Benchmark and Firstmark Capital, well, what they are venture capital firms, baby! And what venture capital VC firms do is they basically give a bunch of money to small companies so that those companies can become big! And these VC firms make money by having a certain bit of ownership within those big, used to be small companies! That's how they make money. And now two partners at VC firms worked at Riot Games! That's incredible! Alright, so at this point, Riot Games basically had the perfect team composition of investment bankers, consultants, venture capitalists, bunch of finance dudes, bunch of Wall Street dudes, bunch of people who knew how to make money! Alright, so they had an awesome team. So, on July 10th, 2008, Riot raised $7 million from the two VC firms we talked about, Benchmark and Firstmark Capital. They raised $7 million to begin the project of creating League of Legends. A little bit later, Riot raised even more money from Benchmark and Firstmark Capital, but this time, a bigger, better company came in and they wanted a little slice of Riot. That company was all the way across the world in China. The name of that company was Tencent. Now what Tencent was, it was a huge Chinese holdings company and one of the biggest, most baddest companies in China. It was huge, but why did they want to own a little bit of Riot? Basically they came in during like part for funding, and they're like, give me 25% of that shit. They had a 22% equity interest within Riot Games, but why did they want it? Well, the reason why they wanted it was because they did it to diversify! And what diversify means is, let me put it into gamer terms for you. Imagine you consolidated to playing ADC. But come draft pick, if you only knew how to play ADC, you would be screwed if someone took that position, or if ADC started to fall off. What Tencent did is they kind of went into the video game, the esports industry. They invested in Riot Games to, broaden their market share into different industries, thus diversifying. Alright then, so after some time, Riot Games had the perfect team composition. They got people who knew how to manage companies. They knew people how to make sure that the cash flowed through companies, so Riot Games wouldn't go all GM on us. And then, after some years of developing, programming, computery stuff, League of Legends was released on October of 2009, and they made it free for all of us! And they made money from microtransactions. What are microtransactions? Well, what microtransactions are, you know RP? That's it right there! Microtransactions are RP. That is Riot's primary, basically 99% of their revenue right there. So go and buy your pool party Leona. Within a couple of years, Riot Games overtook StarCraft 2. Wait, no, not Riot Games. League of Legends overtook StarCraft 2 as the most popular esport. They beat Big Boy Blizzard within 2 years. Alright then, so to put it into layman terms, I think we've already established by now that Riot Games was freaking successful. It was so successful that, remember Tencent? Well, Tencent was basically like, oh, growth prospect look good, we'd invest more money into Riot Games. And what that basically meant is Tencent saw awesome freaking potential within Riot Games, and they basically bought all of it. So in 2011, remember Tencent, they own 25%, a little slice? Well, they decided to buy like 95% plus of Riot Games, owning all of it for approximately $230 million! Alright, so how much money does Riot actually make? So, from all that RP that people are buying, how much money do they make? Well, according to estimates and reports in 2013, Riot made $600 million! Wait, over $600 million in revenue in 2013. Now, I don't believe that's accounting operating expenses and all that other accounting shit. So, in the link below, I'll show you the consolidated financial statement so you accountants can have a blast with that. Anyway, even with making $600 million in revenue in 2013, do not call Riot greedy because of esports. You know, esports, LCS, TSM, Cloud9, all that stuff, all the beautiful, you know, casters and the pew-pew, the Manhattan Beach studio that they used to film it in, it's not cheap, and Riot is actually losing a considerable bit of money on esports. But why do they do it? Well, the reason why they do it can, I guess, be summed up by a quote from Dustin Beck, who is Riot's esports guy. And what he said was that esports are an investment for the fans and that it's a worthwhile thing for us to do because it's such a high-quality, engaging experience for our fans. And to be honest, it's true! Never before have esports fans been able to, you know, find a sense of communion, that kind of parallel to real sports, or what people regard as real sports, into video games. Sure, there's been things like Team Liquid and Team EG with StarCraft and stuff like that, but you're not really rooting for the entire team, you're rooting for individual players within the team. Whereas, with League of Legends and their new support of the entire esports program, there are so many, there's like 8 teams to root for, and we root for them in the same regard as we root for pro teams. Go TSM! Go Lakers! Same deal! That's awesome! So then, thank Riot, thank the Chinese, thank Tencent, thank the bankers, the financiers, everyone who made League of Legends so awesome and so prosperous and so successful for all of us to enjoy. And with that being said, let's talk about Riot's collegiate program. In case you didn't know that existed, Riot's collegiate programs is basically Riot Games' investment into the future of America. What they do is they support a collegiate program for League of Legends clubs within each and every university that is interested in having a League of Legends club on campus. Now, I believe most UC campuses, several Eastern schools, just a bunch of schools have League of Legends clubs, and Riot Games supplements that. Alright, so ending here, I just wanted to leave a little bit of a personal tidbit regarding myself, making it personal by virtue. And, alright, I'll start like this. So, I love video games, but I'm also super into finance as well. I spent some time at firms like Merrill Lynch and stuff like that, and I've come to develop a kind of consensus regarding people in that industry. And from my experiences, I can say that people working at these firms, they're some of the funniest, smartest, most sophisticated people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. But they also are too professional. I know, it's corporate America, they have to be professional. But this brings me to the founders of Riot Games. Riot's founders, Mark and Brandon, were these people. They worked at Merrill Lynch and they worked at Bain & Company, 2 incredibly large and respected firms. They worked in these kind of firms, albeit different divisions, and the fact that these individuals had the capacity to enjoy video games, to love gaming, and create an entire company predicated on their love for video games is something beautiful. Even though these dudes had incredibly prestigious, lucrative, and cutthroat careers, they maintained their inner child in corporate America, and were able to retain what they truly were as gamers.